and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1424B, and today's date is November 13th, 2017, and the title of the episode is First Power Grid Drill, Now a Biological Attack Drill. What's next? Let's get into the economic collapse, political, and geopolitical news. Now, we've been talking about the Clintons and how they are now being investigated for the Uranium One deal. We also know about the Fusion GPS, which they funded. And now we see, and this is coming out of a new report, where the Clinton Foundation is in its final death throes after several of the world's largest corporations suddenly ended all contributions to the organization. Now, Boeing, Chevron, we see Dell, Duke Energy, General Electric, Humana, Lockheed Martin, and UPS have all halted donations and severed ties to the foundation. Now, once again, we can see that individuals, corporations are separating themselves, and we can see with Donna Brazile, with her book and how she's pointing fingers. These people are going to start pointing fingers at each other, and they're going to separate each other. They're going to separate from each other because they don't want to be involved. And this is what happens during the end stage of when the truth starts to come out. People start to point fingers, and they say, it wasn't me, it was this person, because they don't want to get into trouble. And this is exactly what we're seeing happening right now. It's starting, and it's going to continue, and we're going to find out that all these foundations like the McCain Institute, the Clinton Foundation, and all the others, these were just money laundering operations to fund whatever they were doing, their campaigns, their lifestyle, what they were up to, and we're going to find out all this information, and it's going to come out. Look what's happening out in Hollywood right now, where all these people are being outed, and we're starting to see that the pedophile ring, and we're starting to see all this information of what Hollywood is really like. It's all coming out, and it's going to spread. It's going to spread all the way back to Washington, D.C. Actually, it already has started, and we're going to see many individuals where they're going to be charged, where people are going to point fingers, and all of it's going to start to come out. From my understanding, it looks like Jeff Sessions and the Department of Justice have arrested around 4,000 individuals that had to do with child trafficking and pedophilia and things like that. So we're starting to see that all of this is starting to move forward, and the truth is coming out. It doesn't mean the corporate media is really picking it up and going with it. They're going to pretend it doesn't exist and not report on any of this stuff. We see the TSA, they are moving forward with plans to gradually implement facial recognition and other biometric data into screenings at the airport. Now, the agency began testing out the methods, which also include iris scans, fingerprints, and many other forms of checking to see who you are. And we can see that this is a violation of our rights. And there's no reason for them to take all this information, put it up to a central database. But they've been planning on this for a very long time. And we can see right now they're telling us that this is going to help us find terrorists. No, it's not. The terrorists were created by the intelligence agencies. They control the Islamic State, Al-Qaeda, and the rest. And this is why we haven't seen terrorists. It's not because, we have this incredible security. They haven't stopped anybody because it's fake, phony, and false. Actually, privacy advocates, they disagree with the attempted expansion. According to the Electronic Frontier Foundation, the TSA's push to expand its use of biometrics is part of a broader push by the Department of Homeland Security to nationalize these tactics. And this is exactly what they wanted to do for a very long time, and they're actually pushing the agenda right now to do this because they wanted a centralized database. They wanted to keep track of everyone. And these facial recognition systems, they weren't going to just be set up in airports. They were going to then expand them to bus terminal, train terminal, sporting events, movie theaters, you name it, and they would track everywhere you go. And eventually you would just see them, these scanners on the streets, and they'd be just tracking everyone wherever you go. We see the crackdown on free speech is continuing. Now, we know that there were certain corporations like Facebook, Google, Twitter, and we know that Congress was questioning them on, misinformation, hate speech, fake news, and what they were going to do about this. And they didn't understand how the corporations were approaching this because, again, hate speech, how do you determine what's hate and what is not hate? Because for one group, this might be hateful. For another group, this might not be. And this is something that's very difficult to do. Misinformation. What's misinformation? I mean, the corporate media has been telling us that there's been Russian collusion. We turned out that this was made up. They also told us that the Fusion GPS dossier, well, that was real. That turns out to be completely fake, and it turns out that Clinton's lawyer paid for it. So once again, everything is backfiring on them. But what they're trying to do, and this is coming from Senator Al Franken, he proposed that the U.S. government needs to step in because Google, Facebook, and Twitter, and the rest of the social media, they failed to prevent the spread of propaganda. And basically, he wants the government to regulate this. Well, this goes against free speech. I mean, think about this. Our rights and the Constitution allows us to speak freely without the government interfering in it. And here they are, the people that are in government, they want the government to interfere with speech by regulating it. Now, we know the founding fathers, they purposely said that the people can speak freely and there should be freedom of press. But again, these individuals, they don't want this. They want the speech police to monitor everything. And he's suggesting that we need to ban political speech from all these different social media outlets. Because what has been happening is the truth is coming out. And every time the truth comes out, this is when these individuals come out and say, you know what, we don't want that said, we don't want this said, because they don't like it when the truth comes out. And they always try to stop the truth. But it's very difficult to stop the truth because the truth will always stand tall. They can try to use propaganda. They can try to control or regulate. But every single time they do this, it never works. The people eventually say enough is enough. And we're getting to that point where the people are going to say, listen, you can't tell me not to say this. If I want to say this, guess what? I will. And let me just tell you, if they start regulating this on social media, just like with the NFL, you're going to see a lot of people protest, and we're going to hit the social media outlets where it hurts. That's their pocketbook. That's their wallet. And once we do that, that's when they'll say, you know something? This is not working for us. And this is where the government is going to have a problem. We see that RT, they have filed for registration as a foreign agent in the U.S. We see the editor-in-chief has announced this. They said that they're going to do this, and they're going to threaten the U.S. with legal action because they're saying that they have the right to freedom of speech. Now, this is very interesting. The U.S. government made RT file as a foreign agent to shut them up because they don't want them speaking freely, and the Russian news media is going to file a lawsuit against the U.S. government because they're not allowing them to practice freedom of speech. I mean, has this all been reversed now? Where the U.S. government is now stopping freedom of speech and the Russian news organization, the Russian government, wants freedom of speech? This is just absolutely amazing. We see out in Spain, Spain is now warning the EU about disinformation. And it's not coming from the U.S. It's not coming from the EU nations. It's coming from, yes, you guessed it, Russia. The Spanish authorities right now, they have warned that Russia is cyber meddling the information that is flowing into Catalonia, saying that they are using cyber attack techniques to spread disinformation, and it's coming from Russia. Now, they don't know for sure, but they believe this is where it's coming from. Now, again, what they're doing, what the Spanish government is doing, is they're trying to stop any type or any piece of information that is flowing into Catalonia that has to do with the referendum and independence. And they're saying that Russia is pushing the independence movement. So they're doing whatever they possibly can to stop what is happening. We see that there are 3 U.S. nuclear power Nimitz-class aircraft carriers representing nearly $30 billion of advanced military hardware. They are now near North Korea. This is the USS Ronald Reagan, the USS Nimitz, and the USS Theodore Roosevelt. And they're currently engaged in a 4-day war game exercise, which will link up with the allies, Japan and South Korea, who are also participating. And this is, once again, to provoke North Korea. Now, as we know, this is not going to stop North Korea from doing what they're doing. Actually, they're going to look at this and say, listen, we better ramp up our nuclear program, we better ramp up our missile program, because it looks like they're bringing all their hardware down to this region. There's 3 aircraft carriers here. We need a missile that works. We need a nuclear weapon that we can put on top, and we're going to push this as hard as we possibly can. They're not going to back down. This is not going to work. We see out in the UK's former chief, Robert Hannigan, which is the ex-director of GCHQ, he is predicting further collateral damage from North Korea. Now, the UK Security Minister, Ben Wallace, last month blamed Kim Jong-un for WannaCry, which saw hackers demand cash to unlock data. Now, again, they have no proof whatsoever that North Korea was behind this, but again, they're saying, yes, they were behind all of this. And what they're saying is that this is just the beginning. Their tools are going to get better. They're going to become more sophisticated on their cyber attacks. And we're going to see major threats on a greater scale. And they could hit the infrastructure. They can hit many different things. And this is all a push and propaganda to make us believe that North Korea is going to be attacking the power grid, going to be attacking the financial institutions. They're going to be attacking all of these different areas, and they want us to believe that this is where it's all coming from. We see that out in Yemen, there might be a problem. Reporters Warren Strobel and Jonathan Landay revealed that legal experts at the U.S. State Department had warned that the White House that the United States could be charged with war crimes in connection with the Saudi Air Force bombing campaign in Yemen, because the United States was supplying the Saudi Arabians with bombs. They were refueling the planes. They were coordinating the attacks. And they're saying that the U.S. could be held responsible for war crimes, because what we've been seeing is that they've been bombing hospitals, schools, weddings, because the whole push there was to make the people pay, and they were hoping the people would say, okay, bring back the puppet government, we give up. But that didn't happen. What's happening right now is Saudi Arabia is losing ground, the Houthis are winning, the people are holding strong, and they miscalculated. And this is going to be a problem, because when it's all said and done and they overthrow everyone that's in there and they get Saudi Arabia out of there and they take back their country, they're going to be going to The Hague. They're going to be going to the UN saying that, listen, we're pressing charges against Saudi Arabia, the U.S. And guess what? They could be brought up on war crimes because of what they've done. And this is a huge concern. And we can see this might be happening. If this happens there, it's going to happen in other countries. It's almost like after World War II, once everything was said and done, all the other countries went after Nazi Germany. What do you think is going to happen now? Well, all these countries like Somalia, Sudan, Ukraine, Iraq, Lebanon, Syria, they're all going to come after the U.S. The cabal, well, they're going to be gone. And the people of the U.S., well, they're going to be standing here going, wait a minute, what just happened? Because the corporate media stayed quiet. We let these non-elected individuals run the country. And once again, it's going to fall back on the people. And we can see that, they're going to ask for currency. That's what happens in these situations. And here we are at the point where countries, they're taking back their countries, the cabal is losing, and eventually they're going to have total control of their countries. And once they get back on their feet, you're going to see that they're going to say, hey, listen, look what they did to our countries. Our infrastructure has been destroyed. Many people have died, and now we need to do something. We see there's a lot of propaganda out there where they're saying that U.S., Russia, and Syria, they made up this agreement. And we talked about this where Jordan said, yes, this is a great agreement, but it looks like Israel is pushing their propaganda, saying that the agreement means that they're going to create Iran-free zones. Well, first of all, Syria and Iran have a very close relationship. Second of all, Syria is a sovereign country. They can have anyone they want in Syria. And if they want the Iranians in there, guess what? No agreement is going to stop this. And it looks like they're trying to convince everyone that this agreement had to do with keeping Iran out of Syria. But this is definitely not going to happen, because we already see that Syria, Iran, Russia, China, they're already making deals. And Syria invited Iran into the country to help fight the paid mercenaries, to get the coalition terrorists out of the country. And we see right now that they're trying to push as much propaganda as they possibly can. Now, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about how there was a drill in an amusement park, King's Dominion. We also talked about how there was a drill on the power grid, the infrastructure. We also know there was the Grid X cyber attack drill. And now the Department of Homeland Security is preparing to simulate biological attacks on critical infrastructure near the border between Kansas and Oklahoma. Now, this is the first round of drills, which will occur on January through February of next year, along with a second round in the summer. Now, what they're doing here is they are preparing a field training exercise. They are going to release some type of chemical, and it's not supposed to be damaging or anything like that, but they want to see how the buildings respond to a biological attack. And what they're going to do is they want to see how the material that they release, how it penetrates the buildings. And what's very interesting about all of this, and they're calling it a biological stimulant that will be released during the exercises. This is what they're going to use to see how the buildings react, because if there was a real biological attack, they want to know if people are going to be safe in office buildings or homes and things like that, and how long it takes for that biological stimulant to get into the buildings. Now, we've seen this before, and this had to do with a chemical type of drill in the subway system of New York. We're also seeing that power grid infrastructure drill. We're seeing this biological drill. They're having a lot of drills back to back to back. And we know that this is what they do right before a false flag occurs. They test this. They do this over and over. They want to see how everything reacts, what they need to do. They take pictures ahead of time to push this onto the corporate media to make it look as real as possible. And we need to understand that when this event occurs, this main event, where we've been talking about a cyber attack, where North Korea or whatever country or group is going to do this, once they do that, they're going to try to use physical attacks in many different areas to make it look incredible. Because when you see the physical attack and you hear the cyber attack, the impact of both of these happening at the same time is going to be on the level of 9/11, and it's going to surpass it. Because if they are able, and most likely they will be because they already have this set up, they can bring the power out in certain small areas, or maybe one big city and other small areas, and have physical attacks in the larger cities. They can make this look incredible, like we are being attacked from all ends. And all they have to do is say the financial institutions, they are also being attacked. Wall Street's being attacked. And they can wrap this up and say, yes, it's North Korea, it's the Islamic State. We need to go back into the Middle East. We need to go into North Korea. The war is on. And you can see they're trying to do whatever they possibly can to push this war as best they can, because they know this is the last thing they have. As we can see right now, everything is falling apart around them, and they're running out of time. This is why they're trying to push something with Iran. This is why we see the drills going on with North Korea. This is why they're having all the drills here in the United States. This is why the EU is out there saying, the UK Intelligence agencies are out there saying, listen, North Korea, they're going to be getting better at their cyber attacks. They're going to be more sophisticated. They're going to be able to hit the infrastructure. And you can see they're just building all of this up, and it's all propaganda. All of this is going to come from our intelligence agencies, UK's intelligence agencies, the cabal, who are losing ground. They're the ones who are going to be setting this up because they want a war. They want all of this covered up. The central bank wants this covered up. They're all working hand in hand. And it looks like we're heading down this road. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.